guys, welcome to my channel. What I'm going to do today is trying to replace my rear tire. So here we are, the tools I think I'm gonna need. So we have sockets in there, we have the tire spoons, the rim protectors. This stuff, it came all as part of a kit. A torque wrench, more sockets, gloves, tire weights for balancing the tire. I got the service manual as well, and I printed out the pages related to the rear wheel. On the PDF, well, on my PDF, these were pages 140 to 147. Got the tire balancer, the paddock stand. I managed to get from Amazon sockets, which are a lot bigger size than the ones that I had. And the one I'm gonna need is a 32 mil. So that was bloody tiring. Apparently, this next procedure, which is actually putting the new tire in, is the trickiest one. So I'm thinking, if all the struggle so far is actually less than what is coming, yeah, you know what I mean. So now, as I inflate the tire, I'm supposed to hear two big pops, which would mean that the tire got sealed to the rim. How annoying is that? So I actually forgot to put the valve in the valve stem. Definitely can't do that with the tire inflated. So I'm gonna have to deflate it, put the valve, inflate it again. I'm hoping today to carry on with balance the tire and then mount it back on the bike. So fingers crossed. So I'm now going to explain the procedure of balancing the wheel. And to actually balance the wheel, you have to counterweight it. You basically rotate the wheel, and we have to allow the wheel to settle. Where it settles, the bottom point, which is at 6 o'clock, is going to be the heaviest point of the wheel, and the top at 12 o'clock is going to be the lightest. So what we need to do next is mark the 12 o'clock spot. And now all I need to do is pretty much take it back to either 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock position. I'm gonna go for 9 o'clock. When I take my hand, if it moves this way, that means there is weight that direction. So the spot where we add weight is always going to be at the lightest spot, which is again where I marked it. And by the way, when we balance the wheel, it doesn't have to be perfect, because depending on the kind of weight that one might have, in my case I only have 10 and 5 grams, you might need to add the 1 gram, which I don't have, right? So the way I'm gonna go about it is I would favor less weight than more weight. So if at one point I add 5 grams, for example, which is the minimum I have, and I make it heavier, I'm just gonna choose to not add it, and that is recommended practice. I think that's it. Right guys, so the job is done. I finished it 2 or 3 days ago. I had the time to take the bike out for a spin. It feels okay, it looks okay. So I'm gonna take that box as a job completed. So the first thing I want to mention is, do not forget to, once you have everything back in place, you need to pump the brakes. That means depressing those levers a couple of times, doing a bit of a roll on the bike, and make sure that the brakes work. You don't want to be out on the road, obviously, with your brakes not working. So I've heard of stories where people took their bikes to professional service garage, whatever, and as they took the bikes out, the brakes weren't working. The second thing I'd like to mention is about tools in general. By all means, if you want to use power tools, go ahead and do so, but make sure you don't use impact drivers. Those can really be difficult to control because of their higher torque. That's when you'd find a higher risk of messing up the threads of the bolts. If you mess up the thread of a bolt itself, it's not a big issue. You just buy a new one. It could be a specialized bolt, but I'm sure you can find it somewhere on eBay, Amazon, whatever. If you mess up the thread on the hole itself, then you're pretty much screwed. You can use battery-based kind of screwdrivers, electric screwdrivers, just to kind of remove the bolts a lot quicker rather than going by hand, or even screwing them in, providing you can actually adjust the torque of the device, just to kind of get them in quicker. So yeah, by all means do that. But when it comes to actually tighten them, don't use a power tool. Do it by hand, use a proper torque wrench, and apply the right torque settings. When removing the tire or remounting the tire, that these tire spoons actually are good enough to remove the tire from the rim and to remount it. I don't think they're good enough for actually breaking the lid, which is the seal between the tire and the rim. For that reason, I actually ordered these other, I think they're called irons, I'm not sure. The company is called Motion Pro, and I saw this guy from MC Garage using them. And by all means, go ahead and check this guy's video and you'll see exactly how to use them. But you basically put this one in between the tire and the rim, put this one in as well, clicking in that gap, and then as you put pressure and press down, that should break the bead a lot easier than what I had to experience, allegedly. So I'm only gonna know when I do this job again, if I do it again. Oh, another struggle that I had was also the rim protectors. So this set actually came with some plastic rim protectors. You basically apply them, it's the blue plastic bits that you saw in the video. They kind of do the job, but they are very fiddly. And the reason why the ones that I had were fiddly is because they were not long enough. You know, they were not large enough. They were these little strips that would just come off the rim. It would go inside the tire, and you don't want that to happen. Got new ones. Got a set of 2, and that's the big difference. You know, is this? They're so much larger rather than just that little strip that I had on the other ones. Oh yeah, I haven't binned the old ones. I still have 1, 2. These ones. I mean, it's a big difference, right? Yet another thing I'd like to mention about tools, which is more like tools. You know, it's not an actual tool what I'm gonna mention, but make sure you use tire lube. You really need to have your tire, the tire edge lubed properly to make it slide in and out a lot easier. For about an hour and a bit when I was struggling, I completely forgot to do that. And I can tell you now that it made a huge difference once I started lubing the tire. Another bullet point, so when you get the tire, you will notice there's a little kind of yellow dot on the tire, and that only shows the heaviest spot on the tire. So when mounting the tire back on the rim, make sure that that dot is aligned with the stem. You don't have to do it, but I believe you would make the balancing job later a lot easier. The last bullet point is actually a question. Would I do this job again myself? Should you do it? Big question, right? I'm not sure about the answer myself, you know, because for me to do it the first time, it was 100% a huge job. It was really, really hard. It was way harder than what I expected. I've just spoken to one of the garages that does tires in my neighborhood, and if I was to dismount the wheel and take the wheel to them with the new tire, for them to fit it for me and balance it, it would cost me £25. So they will do that job for you in 20 minutes. They'll just mount the tire on the tire stand, use this hydraulic whatever device they have, remove the tire, put the tire back in, balance it for you, job done. You come back home, put it back on the bike, sorted. I think I'm pleased with the fact that I've learned a few more things about my bike. I think I've learned a few more things about any bike, because I'm sure that there's a lot of things that are similar, if not the same, with other bikes. So I've learned something new. I think it's also a useful skill to have. Say, for example, you live in a place where you're really far away from a garage, or maybe you don't have a car, you know, because once you remove the tire, you obviously need to take the tire to a garage, you know, or it happens on the weekend when the garages are closed. Now, what are the risks involved? Obviously, you have to be very careful, because as you do this job, you're pretty much detaching the brakes, so you need to make sure that you are comfortable mounting them back. Otherwise, you may end up having to call a mobile unit at some point to finish the job for you. Yeah, make sure that you are 100% comfortable and confident that you can actually put everything back together as it should be. Another risk is you may scratch your rim. I ended up scratching my rim, which annoys me a little bit. Not a biggie, it's just little scratches here and there, which I can easily just retouch with a little bit of black paint. But when it comes to scratching the rim, the biggest risk is actually scratching the rim inside, because it could happen that if you scratch it really badly, the seal between the rim and the tire may not actually happen correctly, and then you can actually have air leaks. I'm probably doing it again, you know, just to justify the fact that I already spent the money on the tools. I may actually end up buying a tire, tire stand as well, which helps with this kind of jobs rather than doing it on the floor. If next time I do it, it's going to be again a massive struggle, I may actually decide that I'm not doing it again ever. You know, that I'm just gonna take the bloody tire to a place that can do it for me quicker, and that's it. So yeah, that's it guys. So if you managed to find the patience to stick around for whatever long this video was, thank you. I hope it was helpful to you. The reason I kept the video a little bit longer than what I would expect it to be is simply because I wanted you to genuinely see the struggles that I had to battle. And I still edited the video anyway, so I did cut quite a few chunks of it. But yeah, it was a hard task, but I wanted you to somehow visualize the struggles, you know, and to make sure that if you do get into doing it yourself, have a bit of an idea as to what it takes, what you should be expecting, what to keep in mind, things not to forget to do. And yeah, and if you find this all this information useful, please do subscribe. Let me know in your comments what you thought, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.